What if one decision, one act of loyalty, could change your destiny forever? What if staying faithful in a season of loss opened doors you never imagined? Today, we explore the story of a woman who had no status, no power, no advantage, yet her loyalty rewrote history. This is the story of Ruth, a story of grief, commitment, courage, and divine reward. And before this message ends, you will understand why loyalty is never wasted. Part 1. A story born in famine. Our story begins in Bethlehem during a famine. A man named Elimelech leaves his homeland with his wife Naomi and their 2 sons. They relocate to Moab in search of survival. There, the sons marry Moabite women. One of them is Ruth. But tragedy strikes. Elimelech dies. Then both sons die. 3 widows are left behind. No husbands, no providers, no security. Naomi decides to return to Bethlehem after hearing that the famine has ended. She tells her daughters-in-law to stay in Moab, remarry, and rebuild their lives. One daughter-in-law leaves, but Ruth makes a decision that will change everything. Part 2. The decision that defined Ruth refuses to leave Naomi, and she speaks words that echo through history. Where you go, I will go. Where you stay, I will stay. Your people will be my people. And your God, my God. This was not emotional impulse. This was covenant loyalty. Ruth was choosing poverty over comfort, uncertainty over familiarity, faith over convenience. She left her homeland, her culture, her security. Why? Because loyalty meant more to her than comfort. And sometimes, destiny begins with uncomfortable loyalty. Part 3. Arriving empty, Naomi and Ruth return to Bethlehem with nothing. Naomi even changes her name to Mara, meaning bitter. She says, I went away full, but the Lord has brought me back empty. But here's the powerful truth. Naomi thought she came back empty. But she came back with Ruth, and sometimes what looks small is actually your greatest blessing. Ruth doesn't complain. She doesn't regret her choice. She goes to work. Part 4. Humility in the fields. Ruth begins gleaning in the fields, picking up leftover grain behind harvesters. This was work for the poor, for the forgotten, for the invisible, but she does it faithfully. And by what seems like coincidence, but is actually providence, she finds herself in the field of a man named Boaz. Boaz notices her. Not just her beauty, but her character. He has heard about her loyalty to Naomi. Your reputation of faithfulness travels further than you think. Part 5. When character opens doors, Boaz shows Ruth kindness. He tells his workers to leave extra grain for her. He protects her. He provides for her, not because she demanded it, but because her loyalty spoke for her. Boaz calls her a woman of noble character, and here's the lesson. Favor often finds the faithful. Ruth didn't chase opportunity. She pursued loyalty, and opportunity found her. Part 6. Boldness within humility. Naomi sees what is happening and gives Ruth wise counsel. In a cultural custom of that time, Boaz could act as a kinsman redeemer, someone who could marry Ruth and restore the family line. Ruth approaches Boaz with humility and courage. She doesn't manipulate. She doesn't pressure. She simply steps forward in faith, and Boaz responds with honor. He promises to settle the matter properly. Loyalty brought her to the door. Courage helped her knock. Part 7. Redemption and restoration. Boaz fulfills the role of redeemer. He marries Ruth. The once-poor widow becomes a respected wife in Bethlehem. And then, something extraordinary happens. Ruth gives birth to a son named Obed. Obed becomes the father of Jesse. Jesse becomes the father of David. Yes, King David. And generations later, from that same lineage, comes Jesus Christ. Let that sink in. A foreign widow, a field worker, an outsider, became part of the lineage of kings and of the Savior of the world, all because of loyalty. Part 8. What Ruth teaches us. Ruth's story teaches powerful truths. 1. Loyalty and loss leads to destiny. 2. You don't need status to have impact. 3. Character speaks louder than background. 4. God rewards faithfulness. 5. Your small decisions can shape generations. Ruth didn't know she was stepping into history. She was simply being faithful, and sometimes that's enough. Part 9. Speak to the viewer. Maybe you feel unseen. Maybe you're working hard in a field that feels small. Maybe you chose loyalty and it cost you comfort. Maybe you stayed when it was easier to leave. Listen carefully. Nothing done in faithfulness is wasted. The world celebrates ambition, but heaven honors loyalty. Ruth didn't climb a ladder. She walked beside Naomi, and that walk led her to royalty. Part 10. Loyalty changes destiny. Ruth could have stayed in Moab. She could have rebuilt her life on her own terms. But she chose commitment, and that commitment aligned her with divine purpose. Sometimes destiny is not found in chasing something new. Sometimes it's found in staying committed to what God has placed in front of you. Your loyalty may not make headlines today, but it may rewrite history tomorrow. Closing scene, warm sunset over harvest fields. Ruth started as a widow with nothing. She became a wife, a mother, an ancestor of kings. Her story began in famine. It ended in legacy, all because of loyalty. Narrator strong closing. Stay faithful, stay loyal, stay committed, even when it's hard, because loyalty has the power to change your destiny and the destiny of generations after you.